So I got recommended this video from John Limbus Company Escu, and I thought to myself, damn, that's a good idea. So I took inspiration from it, so here we are, at our first Arknights Census report. Doing this, I hope for around 100 people to fill this out, and somehow we got 7 times that number, which was surprising since I only advertised it during one stream and one community post. Luckily, it's just enough to at least give a somewhat accurate report on people's general feelings, at least within my community. I will be giving you guys some of my answers as we go through all the responses, as well as commenting on how many wrong opinions you guys all have. So thank you all for participating and filling out the form. There is 4 years worth of information, so without further ado, let's see what everyone had to say. When did you start Arknights? One of the most basic questions, but also one of the most important, since it would mark the start of when many of us fell into the rabbit hole, whether it was immediate or it took some time. Unsurprisingly, on this forum, most people are day 1 players, since those who have been around for 4 years are more likely to fill out a form like this. Second place went to year 3, which was my initial guess when I first started this forum. Year 3 had the Monster Hunter collab, Texas Altar, Moinar, and most importantly, it had Dorothy. Not too far behind is year 2 with the banners of Ling, Spec Altar, and Neural Altar, as well as the site for one of the bigger controversies within AK with the lovely Water Chen. Good times. Year 1 with 12.5% of the vote is the section I belong to, but in name only really. This one is lower than I expected since that year we had things like the R6 collab banner and the Scotty Altar banner. Coming in last with 4% of the vote is year 4, and well, that makes sense since we're only halfway through the year, and I expect if I did this again, that year 4's percentage would be even higher due to the upcoming R6 collab and its rerun. That was one of the easiest questions data-wise to comprehend since there's only 5 choices, but most questions going forward look like this. The product of having 4 years worth of content as available answers. So from here on, with charts like this, I'll probably keep it to the top 5. The event you start out with, I think it's a very formative thing for any AK player. If you start out during a harder event, you might hold a year-long grudge against it, or if you start on an easy event, you might get a rude awakening with the events that come after. Nonetheless, the first event I'd say is unforgettable for most players. Unsurprisingly, since we had so many day 1 players fill out this form, the event most people start out with is the first event in AK, Grani and the Knight's Treasure. Second goes to Salty Pharaoh Novice, which was, at that point in time, the hardest event in AK. So it is funny to think of the many people that started on this event only to be skill checked by the Seaborn. In third place, we have the event that is currently rerunning, Il Sur Cusano. Probably the best event you could start with. That is if you got lucky on your gacha and got a Texas Altar to start your account with. I'm sure many that started with this event have come back a year later and have found it to be very easy. With a surprising result, Dorothy's Vision comes in 4th place and is the only one, along with Grani, to not be a limited event. 5th place goes to Doropog's sequel event in Lone Trail. I'm sure the hype surrounding its story helped pull players in. The following events in order are all limited. For what I started in, it was Palace's event, Interlocking Competition, which only had 3 other people, so shout out to those guys. I'm sure they're all based and awesome like myself. As a nice side question, for those that started on story releases, it is interesting to see how many more people started at chapter 9 and above. First place goes to chapter 5, which was the main story's first edition post the game's launch. The thing that plagues all gacha games, and that is, who is your first 6-star, and if you need to reroll your account. To account for rerolling and going for double 6-star bags, this question allowed for many options. This list heavily skewed towards the first newbie banner for obvious reasons, since the new one only got introduced a short while ago. The data is unsurprising, with the top meta at the time being most people's beginner 6-star. The one who has fallen Silver Ash sits at the top, closely followed by the buff army recipient Exu. The fan favorite Angelina comes in 3rd place, with the tankiest tank Hoshigoma in 4th. In 5th, the most unfortunate of the bunch, all got Siege as their starter 6-star, and I'm convinced Siege came as a package deal, since who in their right mind wouldn't reroll if that was their only 6-star. Very unbiased analysis, by the way. In last place, and the 6-star I started with, is Shining, the forgotten healer, at least until CC calls her name, and even then it's rare. As for the new newbie banner, Thorns and Mountain picked the top spots, which just makes sense as they're the strongest for new players. The best event in Arknights might be a hard question with there having been so many of them. Yet we see a landslide victory going to Lone Trail with 30% of the vote, which is understandable, and if you had seen my lore accurate clear of Lone Trail, then you'd know Lone Trail is also my favorite event, which of course means also the best event. From music to lobby, splash screen to story, it has it all. Second place goes to Il Sur Cusano, I'm sure owing to its pretty great music and fan favorite boss theme. It also came with the Mommy Judge Wolf, Penance, and the magic erase button that is Texas. Bronze medal goes to the Fish event and another fantastic boss theme. 4th place goes to Aya the Almost Dead's event, which for me still has the top 3 overall OST in the game. 5th place goes to Nearlight. Again, many of the top events are centered around limited banners, which is just a natural response, since those events get the most care put into them. In any possible future forms, I will likely split best/favorite limited event and best/favorite normal event, to get a better grasp at what people will like when removed from the hype that surrounds limited banners. I will say that it was surprising to see a CC get enough votes to actually appear as a noticeable part of the chart. With the best also comes the worst, and just looking at this chart, I don't think anyone needs me to tell them what those two massive parts of the chart are. Of course, those two are Pooh and DOS. It is not a secret with how much people dislike those two events. An honorable 3rd place goes to Hortus. I'm sure all of the hatred for that event is placed squarely on the civilians and their propensity to fall down holes. When it comes to characters, many people have their favorites. With 6 stars always being the selling point for gacha games, I was excited to see what 6-star people liked the most. And taking home the win was, my favorite is a 5-star, with 6% of the vote. Well, I guess people don't like 6 stars. The actual answer for who took 1st place on this form is none other than Reed Alter with a massive, whopping 4.9%. With the release of IS4 and being voiced by Melina, Reed stocks have been soaring recently. 2nd place goes to Old Well with 3.2%, just a classic pick really. At 2.9%, Texas Alter takes bronze, which is a similar color to the cardboard Nothingburg that is her personality. 4th with 2.7% is a tie and goes to Neural Alter and Mumu, a fair balance between very cool and very cute. 5th place is also a tie. Thorns and Golden Glow both received 2.6% of the vote, which is a duo I don't think I've ever seen together. My pick of course goes to the silly Jerboa Doropog, who did receive a respectable 2.1% of the vote. Many operators hung around the 1% range. Again, the best comes paired with the worst, or in this case, your least favorite. Of course, taking the majority vote is none other than Vigil, receiving 12.8% of the vote. Close behind is Ock at 11.7%, which must mean he has ruined many a top Ock tags, or rather, Hung wasn't an option and Ock took the bullet. Water type Chen takes 3rd with 4.8%. I guess not even a new skin can save her reputation. 4th place goes to Siege at 4.7%, missing the podium by 0.1%. And she should really be at 1st place, but well, I can accept 4th place, just barely. Rounding out her top 5 is Hoheak at 4%, and her placement at the top was to be expected. Surprisingly, both Carnelia and Magellan both received a good amount of votes themselves, which was not something I would have guessed. I thought most people forgot their existence entirely. Power creep is now a prevalent thing in Arknights after having been out for 4 years, and with more than 300 operators, it was bound to happen. But who sits at the top of the most balance in the game? Waynar got an astounding 36% of the vote, which is fair, but I expected a closer race between the top picks. Texas Alter came in 2nd place with 26% of the vote, and she's my pick for the most balance in the game. She's the get out of jail free card and cleans up any mistakes you might make. Waynar, while boasting more power, you still have to play around the skill cycle and zero block. In an interesting turn of events, Ling, the trust farming goddess, takes 3rd place with 40% of the vote, beating out Summer Chen, who only got 9%. Somehow Yato Alter comes in last with only 3.6% of the vote, getting beat out by a medic, which was a nice surprise. There are many races in the game, and many niches are built around them. Sarkaz takes 1st place with 19% of the vote. In accordance to the law, their opposites, the Sancta, come in 2nd with 12% of the vote. 3rd is a tie between the Lupo and the Liberi, with the birds being my personal favorite. The fishes round out our top 5 with 7% of the vote. While there are many races, there are also many factions in the world of Arknights. While the fishes may have taken 5th place, the Abyssal Hunters take 1st in the faction vote with 13.4% of the vote, narrowly beating out Rhodes Island's vote of 13.3%. 3rd place goes to Rhine's Lab with 12.3% of the vote. RL is also my favorite faction since it has Dorothy and Kristen in their faction. 4th place goes to the Horses at 6.2%, and running out our top 5 is Laurano at 5.4%. Drip or drown, as the kids say. God, I wanna die. Many of us AK players are quite proud of the fashion operators get as skins, but which is the best brand? With almost half of the votes, Bloodline of Combat takes the cake at 46.3% of the vote. This is also my favorite skin line, since everything in it is just cool. 2nd place, the twin sibling of the BOC skin line, Epoch comes with 20% of the vote. In a surprise turn event, the Ambius Anastasia skin line comes in 3rd with 7.9%, beating out the Summer skins, which got 7.6%. 5th place goes to Witch's Feast, getting 7.4% of the vote. I'm sure the newest skins help to get it to top 5 placement. Classes are always a topic of conversation, but which one is your favorite? With the Specialist Revolution in 2023, I was quite surprised to see Guards remain as people's favorite class with a quarter of the vote. Specialists come in second with 24% of the vote, third goes to Snipers, fourth surprisingly goes to Defenders, fifth is a Caster Sweep, sixth and seventh is a tie between Vanguards and Supporters at 5.9%, and taking last place are the Medics at 4.3%. While fashion is a big source of pride for many AK players, the biggest source of pride has to come from the music Arknights produces. Since we are entering the musical portion of the census, I'm going to blaze through these next few questions so this video doesn't end up even longer than it already is. CC themes with almost a quarter of the vote goes not to Pyrite but to Base Point. Pyrite comes in second place with 14% of the vote. Third place goes to Blade with 12.8% of the vote. Fourth at 10.3% goes to my favorite lobby theme, Dawnseeker. Fifth is Ashring at 9%. We all love the fact that 6 stars get their own themes, but which got the top vote? Settle into Ash is our first place with 8.2%, second is Radiant at 7%, followed closely by Dormant Craving at 6.9%, fourth and my best pick goes to Magic Theorem with 5.3%, and rounding out our top 5, somehow the Blight on AK Music, Renegade with 4.3%. Boss themes are important and leave a big impact on players, which is why it is unsurprising that one of the few boss themes with words takes first place with Il Circusano getting 16% of the vote. Second goes to my pick, Lone Trail with 14% of the vote. Third and fourth is a tie between Salty Novice and Guide Ahead at 9.9%, which is pretty funny since they're nothing alike. Rounding out our fifth place boss theme is Willing Sturm at 7%. Lobby themes are pretty underappreciated, but there's also good music to be found there. With a massive third of the vote, So Long Adele takes first place. Lone Trail takes second place again with 11.4% of the vote, and it's also my pick. Rising a few ranks, So Willing Sturm takes third with 8.5%, fourth goes to Il Circusano at 4.7%, and Near Light rounds out the top 5 with 4.5%. I'm happy to see a wide spread of genres in this top 5. Alright, lightning round done. Let's look at the game modes of Arknights, starting off with the best game mode in Arknights, Integrated Strategies. The best season of IS goes to IS-4 with half of the votes, which is pretty impressive. IS-3 takes second with 32.5%, and IS-2 brings it home at 17.4%. It's good to see HG improve every iteration, and I can't wait to play IS-5. While it is the best game mode, have players maxed out the Battle Pass. IS-2 comes in as the most completed, with almost half of you having completed it. IS-3 completion rate is a little less at 42%, and IS-4 even less at 32%. Finally, 30% of people don't have any of the Battle Passes maxed out. I personally have them all maxed out. From best to worst game mode, we move to SSS. And with a big 50% of its own, many responded to "Do you play SSS?" with "Ew, SSS," which is very relatable since I also don't play it. 21% of people play for the first clear rewards. 19.5% of people play at reset, and the true imposters among us play for fun at 9.2% of the vote. Game mode adjacent is the main story, and this graph is nice to look at, with half of you guys having beat all the story stages but are missing H stages. A quarter have completed all story stages including H stages, this also includes me, and the last quarter of you have not beat all of the story stages, which you should get started because it's free OP. From game modes, we move on to the more miscellaneous questions that include different parts of Arknights. We of course are starting off with the most important thing to the health of our game, and that is how much have you spent. Almost 30% of people are free to play, using the full power of foresight to plan their pulls I bet. 22% of people are in the $100 to $500 range, which I am also part of. Those $5 monthly cards add up over a few years, and I'm sure many who are in this range are also 6-star selector buyers. Around 18% of people are still within the $50 range, and 9% of people are past $500. Around 6% of people are swimming in the depths of the ocean at over 1,000, 1% of people are true Leviathan gods at over 5,000, and only a single person on this forum has ascended past their mortal restraints and found the Eldritch Truth and have spent over 10 grand. I like to take this moment to thank all the whales and leviathans out there for keeping the game we like alive. Base optimization is a big thing in Arknights, and many people build operators just to min-max their resources to get from the base. It was surprisingly an almost even split. 51.6% of you guys are min-maxers that take the time of day to put in teams into your CC and your trading posts. The rest of us normal humans don't optimize base, and I bet all 48.4% of us are really making use of the 3-minute time save we get from not optimizing. In the same vein, visiting friends for more credits. 77% of you guys do visit friends to get more credits to spend in the shop. I and the remaining 23% don't visit friends for credits. I personally have never had a problem with credits, and I somehow always have more than 300, so I've never seen a need to. Plus, visiting takes time, like a full minute, and who has that much time? Limiteds are the bane of many people's existences. Some of you save up to spark, and some of you get very unlucky and need to spark the banner limited. This is another almost clean split, with 49.9% of people saying yes to having sparked a limited unit. I too have sparked a limited unit on the Texas Altar banner. I went to 300 for Neural Altar and brought home a Pot 6 Texas as a nice extra prize. 50.1% of you guys have never sparked a unit, which is actually lower than I expected. With how rough actually accumulating 300 pulls is, I was pretty certain most people would have never sparked a limited before. And we have finally reached the final question. A question I could write a whole last video on. Do you like future sight? Or better put, do you like being able to see 6 months into the future? With the most predictable result thus far, almost 89% of you guys said yes to like future sight. If looking at how well future 6-star operators do, this is no surprise. The ability to see into the future is probably a big selling point to people since they can keep their free-to-play status without worrying they'll miss the next big thing. 11% of us Chads dislike future sight, which is the correct answer by the way, but that's a topic for another video. So there you go, 26 questions covering 4 years of Arknights, and I think the data is pretty interesting. There is a lot I can think of to improve this form if I were to do this again in the future. It is always fun to see how even a micro-sectioned community thinks, and for it to be represented in graphs. Well, what did you think of the results? Did anything really surprise you from the status sheet? I think, for me, the biggest surprise was Dorothy's Vision being within the top 5 for people's starter event. But well, that's all the questions. Till next time.